So welcome everybody. Hopefully everyone can see and hear me. Welcome to the January 2021 COPNA meeting. We haven't met since October, so I hope everyone had a good holiday season and that you're all safe and well. So we'll get to it. So we'll do our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so first off, we'll do our community update with our special guest, Deputy Omar Osburne.
Hello everyone. Thank you guys for having me here once again. I know we haven't seen you guys since October, so I just want to say hello. Wish you all had a great Thanksgiving, great Christmas, great New Year's. Anybody that's new, I just want to introduce myself. Deputy Osburne with the Broward Sheriff's Office. I'm the Community Resource Officer, and I'm here to give you guys community updates. So if you're new, first time seeing me, give you guys community updates. And basically what I'm trying to do is have a communication between the community and law enforcement, because we know even though we meet on this little platform, it makes a huge difference within the community. So I thank you guys for having the Broward Sheriff's Office to being here today. I'm trying to go. I'm not going to take up much of the mayor time, but I'll try to go as quickly as possible. But it's been a couple of months, so you would know that we're going to have a lot of reports and things of that nature. So just bear with me. I try to go through it as quickly as possible. I try to break it down as quickly as possible as I can, not to take up anybody else's time. We're good with that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I dated back to the month of November-ish, so up to this point. So from that point to then, we have a lot of crimes that occur, and I'll speak most notably of the recent ones that occur, but I'll go back a little bit. Since then, we had 3 simple assaults. We have 4 burglary commercials, 1 larceny, which is still in auto parts. And our main one that we had is burglary to vehicle. That seems to be the top crime. And within that time frame, we had 21 incidents of that. So it's a little high number, but we're coming for a couple of months. So that has been going down. We have 4 larceny auto parts and 4 shoplifting. And I didn't mention from the larceny, from the burglary, which I should say, we had a couple of arrests from that. So our deputies did a great job. We had a couple of arrests from that. We had an arrest from the domestic. So we had a couple of domestic issues. We also had a couple of arrests from that also. But the main thing is our burglaries. And as we can see, I say this to a lot of HOAs and things like that. We have to make sure that we secure a lot of our things, double check that we locked up our things, because people could be watching you. So if you know people and they're kind of loose, then, just tell them, double check yourself. And because it could happen to any one of us. Sometimes we're quick to go inside the house and, forget to lock our doors. So let's just, police ourselves, make sure we triple check ourselves. Okay. And I know you guys probably seen on the news, most recently, there was a arson to the city hall. So it happened on the 23rd. Around 7:23 p.m. Was a suspect that committed an act of arson when he set a piece of paper on fire and placed it in a plastic box attached to the city of Oakland Park. The fire caused the box to be completely melted and also caused damage to a carpet which is placed in front of City Hall entry doors. I'm glad to say that on January 25th, the suspect was apprehended and taken into custody. And it was a team collaborative effort by our homeless outreach, our detectives, our road deputies. They responded very quickly and they was on the case. So the subject is in custody and in jail right now. And another incident that occurred was the brutal, I don't know if you guys heard that one, the brutal carjacking and beating that occurred in Oakland Park. That subject has also been arrested. So with the great work of our detectives road collaborative effort, that suspect was arrested actually in Port St. Lucie. So they went all the way up there and they got them. So he was arrested. Okay, so, and that's great tips. Great, you guys, people calling in, things of that nature. Great work by the deputies, great work by detectives. So it was a team effort, community effort, and that suspect is in custody. So, and I don't know, I say this a lot. Anybody went to crime mapping? I was just on it before I logged on. Crimemapping.com. I actually pulled up the same case that I was telling you guys about. So if you guys go on crimemapping.com, you can see all of the case, what's been occurring. You put the time, you put the date, and it show you in the range. If anybody been on there, you'll see what I'm talking about. Crime mapping is really good. So our deputies, detectives, the whole Oakland Park has been doing a great job. I know back in November, we had delivered over 100 meals to family within Oakland Park. So that was very good. So the community gave us a lot of names and told us who was in need. So we was able to give a lot of foods out back in during Thanksgiving dinners also. And big shout out to the Kiwanis Club. They also contributed and was able to give us some meals. So we went over there. So I want to thank them also for that. And right after Thanksgiving was Christmas, and our deputies, once again, we reached out to different organizations. They gave us a lot of names of underprivileged kids who we think deserve toys. So we was able to give them over 100 toys to kids. And we had more sponsors donated. So over additional 100, over additional toys were given to elementary schools, and the schools dispersed those toys. So I want to thank you guys for giving us names and of that nature. And most notably, I just want to bring this up. There was a young lady in Oakland Park, and her dream was, she was diagnosed with cancer. Her dream was to be a police officer. So with the help of North Lauderdale and Pompano, BSO gave her a small parade with numerous toys was given to her and other gifts. And because she's battling cancer, but we just wanted the family to know that we're there for them, and other people participated in the event, which was a great event. So thank you guys for, that also. So I'm not trying to take up much time, but I still got a lot more. So bear with me. It's been 3 months. So those are wonderful things that Oakland Park is doing. Even though crime is still occurring, these deputies are relentless and they're working hard. So please don't stop calling in, because you're the ones that's helping us. So please continue to call in. The non-emergency number, I'll put it up. I'm going to put it in a text message, but it's 954-764-HELP. That's 954-764-HELP. And what I wanted to do, which I'm doing to a lot of HOAs now, each time we come on here for these events, I want to, give the community a crime prevention tip. And I think that's very important. So I'm going to start off with this session. We're going to do domestic violence and domestic violence. I just want you guys to know, if anyone who's in this involved, it's a zero tolerance, and we don't want them to be afraid to speak out. So we don't want them to wait to call us either. So domestic violence is a crime prevention, and these numbers that I'm gonna give you, please, if you know someone, they're usually afraid to come up and talk, and we don't want them to miss that opportunity to call us, because they might not have a second chance, because domestic violence is serious, is real, and people are scared and people are getting hurt. So if you know someone that's involved, or you yourself, please contact I'll put the numbers on here. It's 954-321-4200, 954-321-4200. So waiting for the abusive or violent behavior to change could cost a life. And that's one of the strong messages that we put out. I'll read it again. Waiting for abusive or violent behavior could cost somebody their life. So let us help protect those victims. So I'm going to put the numbers up here once I finish talk, so won't take up too much time. But domestic violence is a real issue that's going on, and we want to be able to be there for those who might be voiceless and scared to speak out. So I'll put all the numbers up on the text in a minute. Okay. And if I continue, is there any questions anybody have? I could slow it down. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry. I have noticed a lot of times when I'm walking, a lot of helicopters overhead looking down, with their lights going down. Is that anything you can, I'm like on late night walks. I walk all the time, and I literally bolt home when I see that, because I'm thinking that usually means that you're searching for someone that's running on the ground, or am I completely off? And can you give us any information about the consistent? It feels like almost every couple of nights there's another helicopter going around looking down on the ground around us.
Well, yes, our majority of the time our helicopters do go for crime preventive thing, but also there's also a different jurisdiction, City of Fort Lauderdale, who
Yeah.
also uses helicopters. So it could be them also doing something, but you would have to be a little bit more specific date and time. And I could definitely tell you what was going on around then, or that time, because there's different reasons they could be out. There's various reasons. Could be looking for a suspect, could be looking for a missing person. There's so much that a helicopter could be out there for. So it's not just crime related.
So that is, since when I see those helicopters go, because it's been happening quite a bit lately in the evenings. So I shouldn't like bolt home. I don't have to worry. Or is there anything that you're seeing that's like an increase of that type of, you know?
Well, yeah, the increase has been around burglaries. But like I said, I don't want to say, okay, well, this was happening around that time. But if you could tell, what days was it happening?
I haven't taken particular note. I've just noticed it's been happening a lot. And on next door community, a lot of people are discussing, and I can't tell you how many times, like, as soon as I get home, I pull up next door and everyone's saying, what's with the helicopters around here? What's with the helicopters? It just seems night after night after night, but I can take better attention and, you know, write down notes. You know,
Well,
I just didn't know if there was a big concern in our area that I should be aware of, because I do take a lot of late night walks and I've never been concerned in our area ever. And I'm starting to feel concerned.
Can I?
Yeah, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I talked to Captain McNeil about this. So, the
Great.
police force. Yeah, I also live right in North Andrews Gardens, and because we're very close to the executive airport,
Yeah.
they use the executive airport for training. So for Broward County, for all of the helicopters. So she thinks it's actually training that's happening. And I said, well, it kind of freaks people out for what you just said, right? The lights coming down. And what she said to me, and Deputy Osburne, I'm sorry, I jumped in, but I've already
No, guess quite all right.
about this. She said that we should, just like you said, if we have a date and time, that we can definitely reach out and find out if something was occurring or if it was a training. And that often they're not going to tell us when it happens because it's a crime in pursuit. So I don't know if that makes you feel any better, but we are close to the executive airport, and everyone is being trained from that location. So all the helicopters come out right in our area. And I know it's over the corals, but particularly over my area as well in North Andrews.
Yeah, and I've been seeing so many around, like commercial, and I live over by Florinata Road. And I've been seeing so many in our area too. So I've just started to feel really concerned, and I'm thinking, am I no longer safe taking my walks at night? Because like I said, I've never felt concerned in our area, and it has made me start to feel really concerned lately. But actually, Jane, what I have heard what you just said. I've heard that from someone else. So that probably is what's going on as well.
But also in your area, there was, and I'm sorry to jump in again, Deputy Osborne.
No, please.
But there was a whole rash of burglaries and break-ins in your area.
Yes.
So particularly of late, it may have been they were looking for suspects. It's quite possible. But I think the best takeaway is if you see it, take the date and time, and then contact, Deputy Osborne and say, hey, what's happening with that? And also crime act,
Yeah, absolutely.
Deputy?
Absolutely. And like I said, it's just as the mayor mentioned, so many facets. But if you could tell me, hey, last week Thursday, last week Friday, I saw helicopters out, we could pinpoint exactly, and give you better details what was going on.
And would I contact you on your email?
Yeah, I just left my email right there.
Great. Thank you so much. Sorry to
not a problem, but
interject there.
Good, Chris.
Does anybody else have any questions for?
Chris, you're on mute, and then I want to say something. So let me unmute Chris. Like I'm asking him to unmute himself.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
Oh, you're back. Went back on mute.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
Thank you, sir. Just a quick question. In that time frame of October until now, I've noticed on the Ring app, and I know a lot of us have, that app on our phone because of the doorbell and all that. I've noticed a lot of people claiming to hear gunshots. Have you seen an escalation with these assaults being used with a firearm, or is it just, fireworks going off within the area that tend to echo?
No, I don't have the Ring Door app, but we go by reports, what's been reported in, and no, we're not having the increase of that. So a lot of times I know people are on these apps and they're talking, but I encourage these folks, if they talk amongst themselves, but I encourage them to reach out to us and contact us so we could document it. And when we go on these meetings, we say, yes, we had numerous calls, but a lot of times it's not being reported to us. And I know people have discussions and stuff. So if you guys are on those discussions, and sometimes we hear it last. If you guys are on discussion, encourage them, please contact us or give them my information, because a lot of times these things are not getting reported to us. So we haven't seen an increase in that.
So
Based on the numbers that we're getting and calls that we're getting.
sure. I think
New Year's Day is probably our highest day that we get those type of calls of, yes, on that particular day, we have a lot of those, but that's throughout the county with that.
I think there's like a falsehood and a misunderstanding that if you're on that app, it's automatically connected to your county sheriff's office or local police.
Correct. It's not.
Thank you.
I just want to chime in and say, first, for those of you who really don't know Deputy Osburne, and we know from experience, and some of the other guys on here know from experience, that he's very responsive, usually answers his phone really quick, first or second ring, or he gets back to you immediately. But I also just want to say, Deputy Osburne, don't ever feel rushed with us. I mean, you're a very important part of this meeting. So take your time and don't feel rushed.
Thank you.
Yes, you have all the time.
I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys for having me on here. And just as Chris has brought up, and we found an incident that was going on I forgot what his app is. I think it was called Nextdoor. And we got that information lastly, but there was a concern around the community about animal abuse and stuff. But we made contact and we solved it. But that was another aspect of how we get information late, and communities are talking, but it's not really coming to the police firsthand. So if you guys could encourage those that are reporting stuff that could be criminal in nature that we could investigate, encourage them to please contact the non-emergency number, and we'll definitely look into it.
Thank you, sir.
I just wanted to commend your department. Let me come over to Jeff's. I just want to commend your department for successfully apprehending the 2 people that you did, because it's also going to then be a deterrent for people doing things like that in the future.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know if you guys know Deputy Apollo, but Deputy Apollo, who's really good, she's with our homeless outreach. She actually knew of that individual name once the video surveillance was shown, and then our detective Relentless and our road patrol, and collaboratively they were able to identify and apprehend the suspect. So, and it's because she knew the community well, and they knew they from the video they saw and they identified who he was.
Yeah, she's really great.
Any other questions?
I just put the non-emergency number on there for you guys. And like I said, if there's more that you guys want us to put out, or certain things that you guys, please contact me, because I'm here for you guys. I want to try to get you guys, and now that you guys say I can take my time, I'm probably going to preach to you guys from now on. but I want you guys to let me know, if there's something that you want to hear about, or something that you guys want to get more details on. All you have to do is email me, and we'll release information as we can. There's sometimes that we can't release information, but I'll definitely let you know.
Great. Thank you so much, Deputy Osborne. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having the Broward Sheriffs on here. And like I said, this meeting is a truly big integral part within our community. We love it. I talk about you guys all the time. So this is important because we want you guys to know what's going on with especially that you guys are living in the area. So you want to know what's going on, but trust me, that crimemapping.com is really good. And I just checked it before I logged on, and that arson call is right on there. So now I looked it up just to make sure. So please, guys, I encourage you guys. It'll give you our case number, and it'll give you a brief description of what's going on.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy. Also, I just want to remind everybody that this meeting is always recorded, and when you get that notice that we have, it's always archived. So while there's only a few of us on here, I've noticed when I do the analytics that sometimes we get up to 50 and 60 people that actually view the meetings. So that's, while you're speaking, Deputy, it's getting to more voices than are just here. And the same with you, Madam Mayor. It's like there's a lot of people that do. I see maybe 50 or 60 people sometimes tag on and watch them throughout the month. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. More people better.
And thank you for keeping track of those analytics, Scott, because that's really good feedback to know that people are watching perhaps at a time that's more convenient for them if they're not able to be live.
And I just need to know that I'm not wasting my time, so I check on it.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. And next up, we have our guest speaker, the Honorable Mayor Jane Bolin. Welcome, Madam Mayor, and we're so happy that you're with us tonight.
I'm excited to be here. And Jeff, I just wrote you back.
Oh, I know, you heard from me twice in a week.
I love it. So, you know, I know you guys said state of the city, but what I thought I would do is give you just an overview of what I see happening.
Right.
If I had a quote to talk about where we are at, it would be John Wooden. So if we fail to adapt, we fail to move forward. And I think that our city has done a remarkable job at adapting to this COVID environment and to what we've seen happen. So I'm sure you've heard about this, that, you know, we really were the first city in Broward County to get our own allocation of vaccines. And that 100% falls on David A. Baer, our city manager's shoulders. And he created that. I would call him after mayor's calls with Broward County, frustrated that literally there was not much we could do. And he just said, let me keep working at it. Let me keep working at it. And essentially he contacted Dr. Thackey, who's in charge of all of medical for Broward County, and said, look, we can get an allotment and we can do it. So what did that mean for us? It meant that our city was willing to put forward the resources, that our fire rescue was willing to work with us in terms of getting trained. And we kicked it off on January 9th. And so, you know, part of Mr. A. Baer's real push on that was getting to the most vulnerable of the vulnerable. So those that have been on our vulnerable population registry, those who we've been delivering meals to all year, all of last year, through both Meals on Wheels and our own efforts through Feeding South Florida, and really making sure we had a space for the most vulnerable of the population, those who don't have transportation, get rides, if you don't have internet. And I think there's been a lot of incredible response. I mean, we've gotten really good feedback from everyone who's come. There was a bit of a letter to the editor today in the Sun Sentinel, and that was really great. But what I'd say to you is this: if you know someone who's over the age of 65, is considered vulnerable, needs transportation, doesn't have internet, has immune compromised, is a vulnerable person, please email me and I'll send that on to staff, and staff is doing an unbelievable job. So one of the things I want to say about that is that, you know, the staff still has their duties to run the city and they're doing this overtime. I mean, it's out of their hearts and also out of, you know, direction, but, you know, we're managing to really get it all done. And I think that's remarkable. So that's the first thing I want to report on. And I think we're going to continue doing this. And we have been a model for other cities. So other cities have come to us and actually reviewed what we've done. I met with Dean Trenthouse today, the mayor of Fort Lauderdale. Chris Lauterbloom came over. So it's been great to show them how to do this small vaccination pod. And I also want to address that the reason we didn't throw this out in the media right away is because we would have been inundated. So the reality is in order for us to do this, I think in the best way possible, we needed to start sort of smaller and then scale, because the problem with the vaccines is once they're defrosted, you've got 6 hours to give them or they go to waste. And I don't think I need to tell you about, you know, that we need to make sure we're not wasting vaccines. At this point, we haven't wasted a single one in the park. So part of what I was able to do with David was contact Tremont, which is an assisted living facility right next door to Collins. And we set it up so they're there for those end of the day calls. So if we have a vaccine or two because somebody didn't show, which happens, we've been able to get their seniors vaccinated along with their staff, sort of in, you know, sort of collaboration. So pretty amazing. And I would say at this point, everyone is very happy about both the vaccine rollout, but also the parks are back open. We followed Broward County's lead on that. So all of our parks are back open. Our rec is back to 100%. So that's a good thing. So that's where we are around COVID. I don't know if you saw the Pelican post, but we just unveiled new inclusion signage. And we have 14 signs going up at various areas in Oakland Park. And what's important about this is it was not at commission direction. It was created by our diversity ambassadors within our staff. So after George Floyd's murder, we had a resolution that was passed in our city, and Mr. Hebert put together diversity and training for the whole staff, and out of that came this action item, which was, let's have inclusion signage. Let's just say this is who we are in Oakland Park. Everyone is welcome. So I was really excited about that, and we thought it was pretty amazing, and we did it. We unveiled it Friday before MLK, so that was awesome. And I think just it being a staff-driven initiative is important, you know, because the staff isn't just working for Oakland Park, they love Oakland Park, and I think that's awesome. So sort of moving to some things that are really important to me that I want to share. I have, if you've watched the commission meetings, I've requested a strategic workshop. So that the reason I've done that is to bring the commission together and the community so we can have an open sunshine discussion to really look at our 2013 vision and mission and to say, is this where we're going? Because I think we all know what it was like in 2013 is very different than 2021. And I think it's just a really good opportunity for us to recalibrate and realign. I can't say exactly what's going to come out of that because it hasn't happened yet. But some of the things that we've talked about is potentially surveying our population, our residents, and saying, what's important to you? You know, what do you need? And I think that's a really important benchmark. Unfortunately, all things in government are very expensive. So it's not something we can do, you know, every year. But I think with technology, it might be something that we can have ongoing. So I'm pretty excited about that. So stay tuned. You guys will find out when that workshop actually gets scheduled. Let's see. I want to talk about two things that happened in the last commission meeting. So did you guys see the medical marijuana vote? Anyone? Yes, no? If you didn't, I'll explain it a little bit. Okay. So medical marijuana has obviously been approved by voters overwhelmingly. And we had an opportunity, not the commission I was on, but prior to my beginning, there was an opportunity to either ban medical marijuana completely in a city or allow it with certain conditions. But you couldn't say how many you could have or where they would necessarily be. So we approved medical marijuana in Oakland Park. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm all for it. I think that makes perfect sense. In the last meeting, it was our third application. The first application we approved, the second one we denied, and the third one came to us, and it was something called conditional use. So in a conditional use situation, it's the only time we can put an actual condition on the parcel. This must be done in order for us to approve it. I'm sure Jack's really familiar with this. And so, so the applicant and our staff had already done a lot of work to get a particular set of conditions that would work, you know, no marijuana flowers and signage, having a monument sign, making it look very clean, no drive-through. There's a couple things like that. And it sort of, I sat there, and now as the mayor, I listen to my colleagues first, and I'm the last to vote. So that also means I get an opportunity to hear what everyone says and really digest it. And I was trying to get to what would the underlying concern with this particular location was. And I think it really was around, you know, will this become like a hookah lounge? You know, and they said no one's going to use it on site. But really, it was all really around recreational usage. That's what I heard. So I asked the question, can we put a condition on this that if and when the state of Florida decides, probably through our voters, that recreational marijuana is okay, that this would have to come back to us. So the commission at that time would then approve recreational usage, right? Adding that condition. And they deferred the vote at that point. So hopefully they're going to come back in 30 days. But I think that's important, and I'm going to share with you why. Because I feel like, one, that's probably not going to happen in the next 2 years that I have in my term, or our commission as a whole. And if and when that happens, I think that our residents should choose, do we want to have recreational marijuana in that location? Because it's distinct from medical marijuana. Medical marijuana is, I'm very clear, for health purposes. But recreational marijuana is a different story. And what I think there's a sort of a collective memory around the pill mills in Oakland Park, and we don't want that to happen again. So that was the reason I brought that up and we will see what the applicant does with it. But I think it's important because there's a distinction there. So I just share that with you if you want to look at the meeting and take a look at it. Challenge me, ask me about it. I'm happy to talk about it. For me, I know that the state will preempt us. So when they say recreational marijuana is available, they're going to say this is how it goes. All of your ordinances are out the door. So having this condition go with the parcel is probably the most powerful thing we've got, in my opinion. But we'll see. So that's the reason I did that. Another thing that's really close to my heart is the Urban Farm Institute. It is on the L-shaped building, and after about a year of negotiation, and I was working on that myself as a commissioner, we were able to negotiate that they would move from the L-shaped building to Jocko to actually have space so we can keep the urban farm where it is. The L-shaped building is riddled with mold and has to be remediated, if not completely redone. So they did move. That was successful. We moved out their lease for another year. I'm super happy about that. I personally use their co-op. I think they're great. And I think it's a gem for Oakland Park. So those are the big things. And then I'm going to end on this. OP3D. So OP3D is our new zoning code for the downtown. And it has not been voted on yet. It has been 3 years in the making. And just to be clear, OP3D is about private property and not city property. So it's not about what are we doing with our city property. It's about moving from an old zoning code to more of a form-based code. So zoning codes being what you're using, this will allow us to have more flexibility, and it will actually incorporate our design guidelines like signage and glazing. It'll allow us to really encourage what we want in terms of ratios and look at things like setbacks. This is up for vote, so I'm glad nobody's, no one else in the commission's on the call right now, but I encourage you to pay attention because right now, all the commissioners are going through one-on-one meetings again about it, and there's going to be another community meeting about it. So I know COPNA will come out, and I just want to open up the lines of communication to talk about OP3D because I think it's really important. When we look at our downtown, we're going to need to change some things to really get the kind of investment that we want. And I think this is right on. And I think it really is more flexible for us. So that doesn't mean in its current form, that's how it's going to be voted on, but it means what I'm saying to you as a mayor, as myself individually is, I'm in favor of it. I think it makes a lot of sense to be going down this road. It's 3 years in the making, and it's important for us. So one of the things people often talk about is open space requirements, and there's none in the downtown right now. So at this point, what we're proposing changes what we currently have, which is 5.5 acres, which is Jocko, to 12 acres in the downtown. So that's more open space, more walkways, more plaza, all of that. And I think that's really important and something I'd like to see happen. So I'm excited about it, but I'm also open to that the version that we have now is not the version we're going to be voting on, and we need your input on all of it. So I really hope that, COPNA as an organization can be there, and then, all of you individually take the time to come to that meeting, because it's going to be real important. So that's where I'm going to leave us. We are sitting on the move, and we are constantly moving in the direction of moving forward. And that's, what I think we can do, especially in this environment. We're still in the middle of a pandemic. That's the reality. So I'd like to open up for questions and let anyone ask me what you like. And then always, I will say this, Jeff knows, if you email me, I'm going to email you back. And actually, Jeff, I'll just say this. So on the massage parlor that you sent me.
Oh, yes.
I had already emailed about that. So that massage parlor is not licensed. They don't have a business tax receipt, and they had already been cited. So they're going to a special magistrate. And
Great.
Your question, which was an excellent question, well, it's 4:30 in the morning. Can't BSO do something? Unfortunately, BSO is out there to fight crime and not be code compliance. So we've got to let our own code enforcement do that job.
Right.
But I've asked the same question. What are we doing? Because this is the second incident, and I don't take it lightly. And we certainly did pass ordinances to make this much more difficult. So yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, I'm glad to because I was like, I wasn't surprised that it happened again. For those of you that don't know, there was another attack of a worker at a spa out on West Oakland Park, that was a robbery, sexual assault. But I was reading the article, and it took place at 4:30 in the morning, and I'm like, what is this place doing open at 4:30 in the morning? But then I couldn't remember back when the whole topic of massage parlors went before the commission, if hours of operation was included in that. I couldn't remember. So I reached out to the commission and just said, hey, don't know if you, because I hadn't heard about this recent thing until today. It just happened like over the weekend. I just said, hey, here's this article. Was that part of the ordinance? So I'm glad to hear that, that this seems to be a shady business that hopefully will get closed down before somebody gets killed. And if maybe this incident will help them move along.
And if I could intervene, I
Sure.
think 2 months ago we had an actual massage operations thing where we would go to different massage parlors throughout the whole Oakland Park. And Deputy Howard, we did a great job in our undercover unit. We issued numerous citations, and a lot of them went before the magistrate. So that incident right there is one of those incidents. So I think we dealt with that business particularly before, because I think the close time, if I'm not mistaken, is supposed to be 10 o'clock with anyone performing those businesses. And if you see those businesses, massages, another, I believe, ordinances, you have to be able to see inside the business. A lot of those businesses have the front windows like dark tinted and stuff like that. So if you see, you're supposed to be able to see inside of them. So we went to numerous ones around the city of Oakland Park with the code. We took code enforcement with us also, and they gave a numerous citation to a lot of those businesses.
Oh, that's great. Do you know if any of these places have gone out of business recently?
I think code enforcement was the lead on that, but I would get with Deputy Howard, because a lot of them did go before the magistrate, which they were summoned to, which they had to come to. But we could definitely get the results of that. But numerous of them wasn't licensed at that time and had to come in compliance.
Oh, well, great. Well,
we can get the number for you on that for sure.
Yeah,
definitely.
As I understand it, that kind of business always is going to be a conditional use approved business, and that always will involve hours of operation. So you're totally spot on.
Yeah. And at any time the bride service office, we could always do a business check that we could check for, just as code. We could check just to make sure their occupational license, BTR, are up to date and things of that nature.
So can people contact you for that too?
Yeah, if that's a concern, you think there's illegal activities going on there, or it looks shady or anything like that, there's nothing wrong with that. You guys live in the city, you want your city to be clean and things of that nature, and we're here. And if we can't handle it, we'll forward it to code enforcement of the right department, who can better touch that subject. Because a lot of times it's business regulations and things of that nature. So code enforcement will take the lead on that part. But if it's criminal nature,
that sounds like a great operation of having
we had
there with you, so they can issue the appropriate citations or fines or court orders or whatever, and hopefully some of these places, if they are the type of people that aren't going to comply, they'll shut down and go away, and that the responsible businesses will follow the law.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because nothing good happens at 4:30 in the morning.
No, that's not true.
I do know a former mayor who walks at 4:30 in the morning.
There was a comment, exactly that comment, at a commission meeting some time ago, and some humor developed around that. So that's why I laughed.
Yeah. More questions for the mayor?
Yeah.
Scott?
Yeah, I was going to let George go first, but since he's muted, you were talking about the, because you and I have had these conversations just about citizen-driven master plans and getting citizen input. And I know the OP3D had a lot of presidents of HOAs involved, and so there was input. And the open meeting that you're talking about is more of a commission workshop or everybody?
It's going to be a community meeting, much like we did for the Collins Community Center.
Okay.
So we've already met all of the statutory requirements for that, but this was, really driven. Commissioner Rosenwald brought it up.
Okay, so it's kind of like a charrette, and Zaskovich will be
Very
there.
similar, but we're going to do it by Zoom, so there won't be any Legos. We can't break any groups, but
Okay.
but I think it's important to have it. So
Oh, no, absolutely. Thank you.
you're welcome, Chris. Sorry.
Okay. Jane, I know we've had the chance to speak about it. I was just curious in what you just said about the OP3D project.
Yeah.
You're talking about the vote that's coming up is strictly about, at this time, privately owned areas, right? With this project, has nothing to do with city-owned areas.
Yes, this is, the zoning applies to the area,
Right.
but it's not what is happening with city-owned property yet. That's the next discussion, and Chris, I promise you, I want that discussion. So
Okay.
part of what I think part of the strategic vision and the mission is also so we have an open forum for us all to discuss that versus this, I speak with you, another commissioner speaks to somebody else, but where we can't all speak about it, because that's going to come up in a strategic vision. We can't ignore it. And I don't want to kick the can down the road. I want to have the conversation. Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're
Appreciate
welcome. George, you're on mute.
I think George is up next, but he's muted. I'm going to see if I can. George.
I just did it.
Okay.
Again, relative to previous two questions, the meeting on CD3 for the community, is that a meeting to tell us what's been decided, or is it a meeting for our input? And second part of that, if it changes significantly after that meeting, will we have input again? And specifically, I'm referring to what happened with the City Hall building. We had an overwhelmingly great approval for that 6-story building. And then that approval seems to have been taken and applied to a 9-story building.
Yeah, sure. I'll definitely explain. So, first of all, we hire experts. So Zaskovich, our architects that are, I'm not an urban planner myself, so they spent, and we have collectively spent a lot of taxpayer dollars for their expertise. And that what they're going to do is give us the plan that they see. That's going to be the current plan that they see. We're going to provide community input if there is exponential changes. I don't know if it'll come back for another community input or if they will incorporate and then bring it in front of the commission. Because that, from my point of view, that's what happened with City Hall, is there was such a big push for the walkway that they incorporated that, which then came back to us without a meeting. And this is always the balance. What we're doing right now, and it's in last week's agenda, but I think it's like $48,000 more for us to do these additional meetings. And so every time we're looking at balancing the cost and the input. So what I can say to you is this: no decisions have been made because we haven't voted on it. No decisions have been made. And up to the time that we vote, we can say, this is something I want to have changed. Absolutely. So I can't give you an answer if there will be a second meeting, but the purpose of this meeting is for the input based on their professional recommendations.
So is it a 9-story or a 6-story? It's something different. Okay, thank you.
So, just talking about the development stuff. So you may have heard, came with, as COPNA, which is on our agenda tonight, came up with a resolution to discuss the future of the Omega Church property. And
Right.
I don't think you've seen it yet, but because we're going to be discussing it again after this as part of our business. What would you suggest the best way to actually get a resolution to the city to see, whether it's through the city manager, because I know there's like 3 or 4 ways that it can actually be introduced, that we get up and read it, that the commissioner brings it up, or the city manager brings it up. What would you suggest?
So I think that falls in the category of city-owned properties and no decisions have been made yet. So what I would do is definitely you can do a resolution, you can present it to the city commission and make the request that there is a discussion about city-owned properties and the concern for Omega, because that's the Omega Church property in the City Hall, and even the end of Main Street where Big Dog Station is city-owned property. So I think, I don't know that you can make suggestions now, but we haven't even gone down the planning road yet, which is why I'm asking for that strategy. And so
Well, yeah, no, the resolution actually more states, it's not like what will be built there, but kind of like talks about how much green space and, not this and that family oriented. So it's not like talking about,
yeah, put it out there, because once you give it to us, then we're always going to have experts. There's always going to be professionals that are urban planners or architects handling the actual design, and we submit it to them. So the best way to do it is email it to all the commission and then present it in public comments. Absolutely.
okay, very good. Thank you.
Jane, I heard George ask in the last presentation that got made with the walkway.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember myself, what was the number of stories that
So
I don't think
got that in like 2 months. I apologize. I think it's 8, because to get the walkway, it has to be above the 6th floor.
right.
I believe it kicks it up 2 more floors, I believe. But let me be absolutely accurate. Let me double check my notes, and I will shoot an email to Scott to send out to COPNA so everybody sees it.
Great.
I don't want to be inaccurate about that.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Chris?
May I interject here?
Sure.
Oh.
Jack.
Go ahead, Jack.
My understanding, and there might be more updates that I'm not aware of, but that crosswalk would add 1 floor. In other words, the problem was that the crosswalk, if the 1 floor wasn't added, it would be at the same level that the city hall would be at.
Yeah.
And so it would be a common lobby, and there would be a lot of congestion. Security was an issue. And so this is adding 1 story so that city hall would be on that upper story.
I think you might
I'm
be
not justifying anything. I'm just giving information.
No problem. I'm going to get the facts straight, because I didn't actually look at that before I came in, and there's a lot happening. But I believe it's 9 stories by right now, which is where the 9 stories are coming from. That the actual code gives you 9 stories by right in the parcel next to it. But let me go back and look at my notes, and I apologize. I haven't looked at that project in like 2 months, so I apologize. Yeah.
Chris?
Jane, thank you. With the escalation of the potential for the new city hall to be moved up to 9 stories or 8 stories, whatever it is, I'm assuming at that point it's going to shoot past what was already pre-zoned for 90 feet. Is that right? So
it was pre-zoned for it. I think it's actually under it. But again, I don't want to speak out of turn, and I did not prep myself on the city hall project before I walked in here, so I apologize.
Can I add something, maybe?
Yeah.
I think it's 90 feet by right, or not by right, but it's with the developer doing various amenities that gives them additional stories.
So
then it allows.
There's base stories,
1 at a time.
additional height limits. So it was a mix of those 2 with the public amenities, but I just cannot remember off the top of my head exactly.
Well, that's what I'm trying to fill it here.
Yeah.
The maximum then, with all the amenities that might, whatever amenities that the developer might offer, the maximum height that could be achieved is 90 feet. What is happening, what's being offered currently, in my understanding, one was 86 feet and one was, I think, 82 feet, something like that. So it's just under that.
Yeah, which is why I think it was, my recollection is 8 stories, but I'm going to look at it and I'll let you know.
I could have sworn during the zoning meetings, and Jack, I sat in and watched over Zoom, the initially with the 6-foot build going, to be able to get the walkway over the power lines. So we're saying that it's still going to be the same zoning at this point, even though they're squeezing in 2 to 3 potentially extra stories.
Yeah, so the OP3D zoning is distinct from that, because it was an actual use of the public amenities, which then had to go to DRC and then to the commission for a vote, which is what we voted on at the end of last year. So again, I apologize. I just cannot remember off the top of my head. But originally 6, and I think it takes you to 8 my recollection is 8 with the actual walkway. But what I'll do is I'll send a very clear email. I'll tell you what the base height is, okay? What the additional height can be based on DRC and DRC approval, public benefit, and then commission vote. And then I'll tell you exactly how many stories was approved. I'll just make it easy. Send an email.
Yeah, and just send that to Scott and we'll send it out to everybody. So
No problem. And I apologize. It has been like my brain.
I don't know.
There's a lot to remember.
Any other questions?
Anything else? All right.
You covered everything, Madam Mayor. You're wonderful. Thank you.
I'm happy to be here. Do you want me to? I'm happy to stay on, or is it better for me to jump off? It's up to you.
We're just gonna do elections and stuff like that, and talk about the resolution.
Housekeeping.
We're
Okay.
not going to talk about you.
The treasurer's report. Good stuff.
I'm sure that happens all the time. So, all right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I'll get that email to you first thing in the morning.
Thank you
Great.
both
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.